How did they do it? Why did they do it? Riding and crashing and winning and always faster and faster and faster.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to With Antone MotoGP. And I want to thank everybody for watching the last episode preview of Brno. Today, I want to talk about the Aprilia press conference. In fact, scrap that. Aprilia weren't even involved. It was the Jorge Martin press conference. That's the first thing I want to start with. Why was there no support for Jorge Martin at that press conference? Why was no one sitting with him? Where was his manager? Valera? No sign. Where was his pit boss? No sign. Where's the CEO of Aprilia Racing? Our friend Rivola? No sign. So when we talk about a press conference, we're talking about putting that young man, 28-year-old Jorge Martin, up in front of the press without any protection. Now, that for me continues on the line of how Aprilia management have continued, I should say, to fail on management of Jorge Martin. Let's go over this quickly and then we'll get on to it. We had the situation in Malaysia, Sepang, 14 laps into the pre-season, sending him out after a small crash on a used medium tyre. Look, it was a coolish day in Malaysia, but they sent him back out on that cool tyre. He had the high side. Then what did Aprilia management do? They tried to blame Michelin, arguing that the track temperature was this and that. And Michelin came back and they said, well, we looked at the data and the carcass of the tyre was fine. So this was again Aprilia starting to blame. Now, why weren't they supporting him last evening in Brno for that press conference? I can't understand it. Also, what's going on with the questions? This righteous position where people are asking him, does he regret? Has he apologized? No, he hasn't. He signed a 2-year deal with a clause. He went to them in the French Grand Prix and asked them to extend the performance clause, and they said no. So what could he do? He had to exercise that right. So Jorge Martin versus Aprilia, but we've also got this whole Dorna management. Now, Camelo speaks up loud and proud. We're not letting Jorge Martin ride if he hasn't sorted out the contract. Well, what about some support for the guy? He's sitting there in front of the media. And why were there no questions about Aprilia management? What was the structure there? Now, there's been a huge mental battle. We talk about mental health so much in this modern day. And look, the fact of the matter is, and Jorge himself said it, you're never prepared to be so close to die. Now, look, these problems, they're huge. He didn't know, I think his quote was, I didn't know that I had that much courage, but now I do. I kind of feel that he was left hung out to dry to field these questions from journalists. And now it's like the social media and the commentary is like, he's damaged his reputation, he's done this. A performance clause is not just about the speed of the bike. A performance clause is about how the team performs. And looking at that press conference last night and seeing what Aprilia did not do to support him tells me that their performance is poor. And I have to wonder where that's going to place him for what goes on. Now, look, the red flag for this started way back in the preseason. Now, I want to ask a question, Dorna. You're all on the high horse about Jorge Martin. We're not letting him ride the contract. Why wasn't that Grand Prix in Doha, if it was a near-death experience, why was that race not red flagged? He was sitting on the side of the track for quite a long time. If you remember the images, he was on his all fours on the side of the track. He wasn't able to breathe. He wasn't able to move. And yet they did not red flag it. So perhaps the race organisers in Dorna should think a little bit more about their performance. Okay, enough of that. We're now welcoming him back to the grid. I wish him well. Another little bit of news that's happening in MotoGP 2025. This noise about Acosta and VR46 doesn't seem to go away. Pablo Nieto, who's the main man over there at VR46 when he was interviewed, were always open to anything. Now, there you go. He's always open to anything. And the other thing I want to bring up, Dorna aren't going to be so strict as they are with Martin, because VR46, it's all on the name VR. They've got Rossi. Now, Rossi is not going to have any trouble with Dorna. making sure that they can make a change. So think about that one. And let's have a quick look now at what I think is going to happen on the resurfaced track at Brno, and in particular, who might be the best performers. Now, talking about the new track surface, brand new bitumen, brand new resurface, no testing by Michelin. So what have they done? They've based all of their tyres. They're going with 3 rear tyres, 2 fronts, and they're also basing their data on Mugello. A couple of team advantages. Both Yamaha and HRC, Rins tested for Yamaha a couple of weeks ago, and HRC tested with Marini's comeback in Mia. I thought I'd look at the results and look at Mugello, the fast tracks. 25, Marc Marquez this year, of course, from Alex and Digi. 24 was Mr. Go Free from Bastianini and Jorge Martin. And in 23, Bagnaia, Jorge Martin and Zarco. If you go all the way back to 2020, Brad Binder on the KTM. Do you remember Brad Binder? He was the big guy that was coming through that always turned up on Sunday for a race. He hasn't been turning up too much. Morbidelli was second and Zarco was third. So I just want to look at what I think is going to happen this weekend. I think it's going to be power, power and power. Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez, and I think it might be time for Acosta to do something. Be great to see if he can get up, but really you're probably looking at Digi Antonio for the 3rd place. One other thing, big fast track. We'll let Mr. Go Free Bagnaia run the bigger Brembo discs. He'll have a bit more weight on the front end, and we'll see how it goes. But what is your thoughts about this Aprilia situation in Martin? The crowd is pretty well saying, well, Martin's done the wrong thing. With Antone MotoGP, I stand by the riders. I stand by their right. Now, whatever's happened there's happened. Martin's back on the bike. But what do you think? What do you think is going to be the final outcome? How do you think Jorge will go this weekend? And what about race predictions? Well, listen, if you've enjoyed the episode, please give it a thumbs up or drop your comments down below, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Okay, bye for now.